In the quiet village of Gill, there lived a young man named Thomas. He was the richest man in the village, having inherited great wealth from his late parents. However, instead of using his wealth to help others or make friends, Thomas spent his days showing off. He built the tallest house in the village, painted it in bright colors, and installed a golden gate. He never allowed anyone inside, not even his closest neighbors. He always looked down on the villagers, mocking them for their simple lives. When he bought a new horse, he rode through the village, laughing loudly and boasting about how fast it was. When he bought expensive clothes, he wore them only once and threw them away, telling others they could never afford such luxury. Thomas was also a heavy drinker. Every evening he locked his gate, sat alone in his big house, and drank until he was too drunk to stand. He would then start shouting, screaming, and laughing at nothing. The villagers got used to his drunken behavior and ignored his noise. One cold night, Thomas fell seriously ill. He was alone, trapped inside his grand house. His body burned with fever and he could barely move. He tried to call for help, but his voice was weak. Still, he gathered his strength and screamed, "Help! Someone help me!" But the villagers, hearing his cries, thought he was just drunk as usual. "It's just Thomas again," said old Mr. John, shaking his head. He always shouts at night. He'll sleep it off." No one came. By morning the village was silent, but Thomas's house remained locked, and there was no sign of him outside. Curious, some villagers gathered and decided to check. They climbed over his gate and knocked, but there was no answer. When they finally forced the door open, they found Thomas lying lifeless on the floor. The news spread fast. The villagers were saddened, but not surprised. "If only he had been kinder," Mary, a neighbor, whispered. "If only he had let us in when he needed us most." From that day on, the people of Gill learned an important lesson. Wealth means nothing.